Hi, Thais.
Hi, KJ.
Okay, Thais, I want to talk about one of our recent reels that we just posted that you did, and it did so well. It was the video on things that you didn't learn as a child but plan on teaching your future children. And so many people resonated with it. They commented cycle breaker at the end, and I resonated with it. It was a super powerful video, really short video, but it just it brought up so many emotions for me. What was it like to film that video and put that together?
I really wasn't expecting it to do so well, but I'm happy that people really liked it. Everybody has things that they know they should have learned or would like to have learned, but they didn't because, there's no perfect parent, but we always want to get better. And I think it's amazing that every generation wants to do better. I'm so excited for when I have kids and all the new things that I can teach them that I didn't learn as a child, but that I learned by myself, with life, with my experiences, and I think that's very valuable.
Yeah, I agree. And when I watch it, it makes me think about like all the things that I didn't learn that I'm trying to do with my own son. And I think that's why it did so well, is that it brought people back into like that state of their childhood again and realizing, yeah, this is really hard, and I'm trying to teach my children all these things that I'm also trying to learn with them, and it's so hard. So like, for example, when I was growing up, I really didn't learn that it was okay to feel my feelings. And when I started when I chose to parent my son differently, it was because I would feel so triggered by his tantrums back when he was, 2.5. And I would use timeouts, and I would yell, and I would punish, and all of these things that I thought I was supposed to do, things that would happen to me as I was growing up. I basically learned like big emotions, big feelings, feeling angry, frustrated, whatever, was not okay to have because you would just get in trouble. And when my son would display those, I didn't realize that was a trigger for me. And the reason I would get so upset is because I was remembering subconsciously that those feelings weren't safe to have. It wasn't until I started learning about how a child's brain develops that I realized this is completely normal behavior, and that children are supposed to have tantrums, and they're supposed to have and express their feelings, and it's up to us as their parents to hold space for them to experience those emotions. And I think that's why I got so emotional with your video, is because I think to myself, like, what would I be like now if I had all of those as a child? If I felt safe expressing myself, like, would I have all of these, triggers now?
Yes, I understand. My mom also punished me.
Did you do anything more to start learning about it, or is that kind of like a pivotal moment in your life where you're like, oh, there's some work that I might need to do?
I started doing therapy, and it's funny because half of the time I'm in therapy, I'm talking about my childhood, my mom, and all those things. So I realized that that takes a big space of my brain, more than I thought. Before I realized that I had those triggers.
I also recently started therapy. It's been a couple of years now, but same with me. It's talking about childhood and learning, all of these different events in my life as a child that have stayed with me, and not realizing it until I start talking about it now. And it's like, that makes sense why I react this way to certain things. And that explains why I get triggered by certain things and why I feel so emotional about certain things. And it really is like going back and processing those heavy emotions that we didn't get to process when we were children, because we were told, stop crying, go to your room, figure it out on your own. And then we suppress them until we're adults, and we're like, we experience those same emotions, and it's like, I still don't know how to process them because I never learned how to. It's such a powerful like aha moment as an adult. Like, oh my gosh, this is why.
When I was a child, my mom, she would work many hours, and many times she would leave me with a neighbor or a friend, and I was always being taken care of by different people. And sometimes they would forget me, like forget picking me up at school, or they would take longer than normal. I have so many experiences in my childhood when I was like the last child to be picked up from school, and just feeling like, oh my gosh, the teachers, they want to go home and I'm here.
It just breaks my heart because you just think, you know, like we're adults now, we just think like how vulnerable a child is. And I get so emotional now, even just hearing that story. I'm just like, oh my gosh, because I can't help but picture my own son who's 5. And like, what message does that send a child other than like, you know, fear of abandonment, like fear of like, you know, I'm not important enough, like nobody really cares about me, I'm a burden on everyone. Like those are all the messages that you get as a child. And if you don't have a parent that repairs, like comes and says, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, like that you were here by yourself, like that was a mistake, I didn't mean for it, it won't happen again. Like you don't get that kind of validation. Like it just, you know, your inner voice starts to form as a child, and that's what you carry with you as an adult. And now we're like working through all of those, you know, because we didn't have that growing up. And that's just, that's heartbreaking. When we start learning and uncovering things in our childhood, it's like, oh, that's why I'm like this. Yeah. And that just reminds me of a conversation we had in our team meeting this week, you know, about how we don't control, it's not our fault. The things that happened to us as children was not our fault. But now as adults and learning it and healing from it, it is our responsibility to move forward with it and to choose how we want to move forward with it, what we're going to do. We can still choose to parent differently, even if we didn't get those tools as a child.
Exactly. And I remember that, for example, my dad, I don't have anything that I remember bad. I mean, there were moments that maybe I did something wrong and he was a little bit more harsh, but because he never punished me, never did timeouts, I just have no triggers when I think about my dad. It's just so peaceful. And he passed away in 2016, and it's so peaceful to remember him because I don't have any triggers, and I just want my kids to be like that in the future.
I love that. And that resonates so deeply to me because, you know, even though I'm not perfect. No parent is perfect, and I make mistakes and I lose it on my son from time to time. I'm so much better now. Like I feel like I'm able to remain calm so much like longer now. Or I'm in control of myself more so than I was before I started parenting differently. But I still have my moments. I'm human. I have emotions and feelings, and some days I'm, you know, operating at 80%. And so yeah, I'll lose it on my son. The difference now though is that my focus is on repair at the end, which I don't think I really ever got as a child because it was always my fault. Not really. I mean, my parents broke cycles in their own way, but there were a lot of things they didn't know, they didn't learn, and things that I'm learning now. And I didn't know better, you know, 3.5 years ago. So now that I know better, I know that the repair process is so important with my son. So even if I have those moments where I may yell or lose control, I still work to make sure that at the end of the day, he feels like he matters, he feels seen, he feels heard and loved by me. And that's what I want him to remember of his day. And to also learn, like, he's gonna experience conflict in his life, and it doesn't have to end with both people ignoring that the conflict happened. We can learn to recognize it, apologize for the things that we did wrong, and move forward from there. And I think that's a really important lesson to teach children too.
Yeah.
This was a great conversation. I can't wait to meet again and see what where our conversations bring us. So thanks, Thais.
Thank you, KJ. Bye, everyone. See you next week.